So you're thinking about getting a boob job before having kids. I did that, and I'm here to tell you my experience and would I do that again? Hi, my name's Elle, and in today's video, I'm going to be completely honest with you and tell you all about my experience having a boob job before having kids. I know that this is something that a lot of people think about and toss up. Should I wait until I've finished having kids or should I do it before having kids? In this video, I want to help answer that question for you so that you can make an informed decision. Would I do it again? Keep watching and you'll find out. I knew that I always wanted to have a boob job. It was something that I would joke about with my friends, with my family, but I was really serious. I actually really wanted to get a boob job, and the reason is that I just naturally had small boobs. I was always an A cup despite gaining weight. My size, my body shape changed throughout the course of my life. I've been super honest on my channel about my struggles with weight gain and how I've been able to not only lose the weight, but also sustain my weight loss by following a low carb keto lifestyle. But even at my heaviest, I would seriously gain the weight all over my body except for my boobs. I did go through a period of quite a significant weight loss. That's when I discovered keto. And although I loved the shape of my body and how I looked, I was still this pear shaped. I was still smaller on top and then bigger on the bottom. So what I used to do was I would literally stuff my bra. But number one, it wasn't super comfortable doing that all the time. And number two, it meant that I could kind of limit the clothes that I would be able to wear with that setup. I really just wanted my boobs to look like that without having to stuff my bra. So I finally decided to take the plunge and I booked in a consult with a plastic surgeon. I had never seen a plastic surgeon before. I was so nervous and I had no idea what to expect. I kind of thought that I would go into the office, say that I wanted a boob job, and he would just kind of tell me everything that was wrong with me and tell me all the things that I needed to get done. It was not like that at all. It was a really positive experience. He explained that I don't need to change my shape, I don't need to do anything, but he also validated my feelings. And he did say, he was honest, he said, proportionately, your top half and your bottom half don't quite match. They look like they're sort of from two different sort of physiques. And him saying that made me feel seen. Made me feel seen that all the things that I had been feeling my entire life, it was recognized in someone else. But making the decision to actually have elective cosmetic plastic surgery is a huge one because it's a big investment and it's surgery that you don't medically need to have done. You're choosing to undergo that process. You're choosing to put yourself through who knows what kind of recovery, and there are a lot of things to weigh up before deciding to have any kind of surgery, let alone plastic surgery. As part of the consultation process, we talked about a lot of different things. I discussed all of my concerns with the surgeon. This included, and I will pause here, breast implant illness, because that was something that was brought up to me a lot once I decided to share the news about getting this surgery. A lot of people voiced their concerns and wanted to, explain their experience going through it and how they reacted to it. I also heard some really positive experiences too, so it was really balanced, but I can assure you that that was something that already I had discussed at length with my surgeon. For a little bit of background, at the time I got the surgery done, which was June 2020. I was going through the consultation process early 2020, meeting with my surgeon, and I pretty much booked the next available surgery, but we'll get to that in a minute. We discussed breast implant illness, my concerns with it, and I went away and I really thought about it. I really weighed up the pros, the cons, all the risk factors involved. So I have this background of being really analytical with my decision making, really taking the emotion out of things, really doing a lot of considered research. For me personally, that was a risk worth taking. I still, to this day, haven't experienced any breast implant illness symptoms. That's not to say that things could change in the future, but what I can say is I'm really glad that I didn't let the risk of that happening stop me from having the surgery. Another real concern that I had, which is super relevant to today's video, is that my husband Dave and I, we knew that we really wanted to have a family together. And ideally, if possible, I really wanted to carry our children. We knew that we wanted at least 2 children, God willing. And so that was something that I discussed with my surgeon. The first question I think I asked, the first question that came out of my mouth was, should I be waiting to have this surgery once we have finished having children? Is this a waste of my time? And his answer wasn't as direct as I expected. He assessed my skin elasticity, and I learned all about skin elasticity, and he explained that it can change quite dramatically after childbirth. He said that my skin elasticity is probably in the best condition that it's going to be right now pre-kids, and based on my skin elasticity, he thought that it was worthwhile me having the surgery before having children. When he was giving me this advice, we were thinking that I would get pregnant with 1 baby at a time. We never thought that I would get pregnant with twins, 2 babies at one time, and that my size would change dramatically. Not only my body size, but my breasts as well. They were gonna get very, very big. If you're in this place right now trying to make this decision whether or not you should have surgery pre-kids or after you've finished having kids, there are a lot of pros and cons to consider. On the one hand, you might benefit from the added self-confidence that you gain from having the surgery before you have kids. But on the other hand, pregnancy can be so unpredictable and you have no idea what changes your body is going to go through. And could these changes potentially affect the results of your surgery? Ultimately, it's a decision that you should really come to in consultation with your surgeon or with your doctor. And after speaking with my surgeon, I felt confident that I should jump in and have the surgery before the twins. If you're curious about the surgery process, I filmed my surgery vlog, which I'll leave linked here and also in the description below. Watching that video back, I remember so vividly all the emotions that I was going through. I was so excited for the surgery right up to the night before. The night and the day before my surgery, I was an absolute mess. I was a nervous wreck. I was terrified. I wanted to back out. I didn't want to go through with it. I thought I was making the worst decision. But throughout that, I was constantly reminding myself of my why. Why was I doing this? Why had I made the decision to go through with this surgery? So despite the fear, I pushed through. We arrived at the hospital. I underwent all of the pre-op procedures, which was also absolutely terrifying. Weighing me, taking my blood pressure, all of that stuff to be able to get the medicine right. And then finally it came time for me to be taken through to theatre. But before I went into the operating theatre, which of course is a really sterile environment, they keep it pristine. They sat me outside in the hallway and I was with one of the theatre nurses, and she explained that I was going to get some medicine that would help to calm me. Honestly, I really needed it. I really needed it. I was feeling incredibly anxious, incredibly nervous, incredibly stressed. So when she said that, I was relieved. And then she explained to me that once I'd had that medicine, we would go into theatre and I was going to get wiped down or like showered down, got on the table, and then was put out to sleep. So the next thing I knew was waking up, and I had no idea what to expect when I was waking up. I had done a lot of research watching YouTube videos. I swear I watched every single boob job vlog available on YouTube, and I had only seen about 2 or 3 out of however many I watched where their surgery experience had been a positive one. Every single person seemed to have the most awful recovery, and it looked like absolute hell on earth. So waking up, I was expecting to feel like the dead walking, and I was expecting to feel miserable. When I woke up, I did feel a tightness and a heaviness on my chest, not overwhelming, but immediately I looked down and it felt like they had always been there. It felt like I was looking at my boobs. I was so excited. And one of the things about waking up after surgery, I didn't know if I would feel like I had these foreign objects in me, like get them out, like this isn't me, I don't feel like myself. I didn't know if it would take me a while to adjust to my new body and my new shape. It was instant. It was instant. And so instantly I knew, and I felt this sense of peace and relief wash over me that I'd made the right decision. At the time that I made the decision to have the surgery, the cost of getting a boob job, where I got it done with my surgeon, the total cost was $16,000, or just under, I think. You had to pay for the operating theatre, you had to pay for your time in hospital recovering. I was a day patient, I think it was called, so I was only going to be there for my operation, the very short recovery time, which was, it was a couple of hours. It wasn't a long time where I would spend time in recovery and then they would monitor me and then I was going to be discharged. Our surgery was in the morning and then I was out by, like I had lunch at hospital and then I went home kind of thing. So it was like half a day. So there were those expenses, paying the anaesthetist as well, paying my surgeon, and also the cost of the implants too. And there were a couple of different options that my surgeon gave me, which had different costs associated with them. I went with his recommendation. So that was what I did. And my surgeon recommended that I get this cc of implants, and I went with his recommendation. And one of the things that I found quite confusing about the process of choosing my implants was he couldn't tell me what size, what bra size I would be once the surgery was finished. I was like, am I going to be a B cup, a C cup, a D cup, a double D cup? And he was like, I'm not sure. Maybe he knew and he just didn't tell me, but he was like, I don't know. He made the recommendation of the implants that I had based on my frame, based on my chest cavity, based on what naturally would fit there if I had boob. His whole MO was to make his patients look incredibly natural. He also recommended that I have my implants under the muscle, and part of that is just the outcome means that it's really easy to breastfeed, and that was really important to me, that I'd be able to breastfeed one day if we were lucky enough to have a baby or two at one time. And I just followed all of his advice for recovery, which I really think helped my experience of recovery be such a good one. I have detailed my entire recovery process in another vlog, which I'll leave linked here and also in the description below. It does show some tough times and what I did to try to minimize those. So if you're looking for advice pre-surgery on what to do, make sure you watch that video because it has a lot of really helpful tips. So I had the surgery, I recovered from the surgery, and my husband and I, honestly, we didn't really plan on starting a family for a couple of years. But then the pandemic hit. Originally, Dave and I planned on doing some travel, kind of exploring before we would ultimately, settle down, have a family, all that stuff. And because we had no idea when the pandemic was going to end, there wasn't really a time frame involved. My age, his age, we didn't want to wait that time, then travel, then have kids. We decided that it was probably best that we kind of just jump into that sooner rather than later. But it wasn't going to happen immediately. At least that was our plan. I had the surgery in June. September of the same year, I got pregnant, which was a total surprise. We weren't trying to get pregnant. I did go back for my post-op checks with my surgeon and he had no concerns about that. I had fully recovered by the time I got pregnant, but it was a bit of a surprise. That pregnancy wasn't successful. We went on to, that was a miscarriage, and I've shared more about that on my page if you're wanting to kind of learn more about our experience there. So that didn't happen. So after that pregnancy loss, we did start trying, and we weren't successful in getting pregnant again until April the following year. I miscarried that pregnancy as well. And I wasn't far enough along in my pregnancy to experience any changes to my boobs at that time. I didn't feel like they were fuller, they didn't feel more sensitive, nothing, because I lost the pregnancies before 10 weeks in both cases of, so in my first trimester. We then got pregnant a third time in June 2021, and that pregnancy was successful, and that pregnancy was with twins. The twins, Revy and Rue, our beautiful twins that are now one. I can't believe it. But, did things change? Did things change with my boobs in that third pregnancy? So, did pregnancy affect my body and affect the results that I got from the surgery? As the pregnancy progressed with the twins, everything expanded. Before the pregnancy, I was a 10D or a 10 double D. Through pregnancy, I wasn't wearing a cup size. I was just wearing sort of stretchy maternity bras. So I can't tell you what cup size I was, but it would be big. When the twins were born and my milk came in, I honestly felt like a porn star. I looked like a porn star. My boobs were honestly embarrassingly big. I felt really self-conscious about my boobs, and that was something that I did not experience with having implants, because the way in which my surgeon positioned them, the size that I was, it all was very natural, it fitted with my shape. When my milk came in, I was a 14F. F cup. Now, I'm no longer breastfeeding. I did stop breastfeeding the twins when they reached 6 months old. Boobs were huge throughout that time. And then once I stopped, my boob size started to reduce back. Now it's been over 6 months that I haven't been breastfeeding, and my new cup size is a 12D or double D. And I think the change in the size of the bra going from a 10 to a 12 is my rib cage expanded. And that's okay. That's just part of the changes that go on during pregnancy. And those changes and stretching and everything, there have been changes to my boobs as a result of that, lasting changes. Some of the changes that I have are stretch marks. If I was wearing a very low cut top, you would see right after my surgery when I had my boob job, my boobs were like super, super, super perky, more lifted than what I think natural boobs would be. A lot of people just kind of do experience some sagging, even in their 20s, even in their early 30s. My boobs now, they look, I think, super natural. Like, if you saw them, you'd be like, you'd have no idea that there are implants in them because of the shape. And when I was talking to my surgeon about having this done pre-kids and worrying about the end result, he explained that from his experience, his significant experience as a surgeon, the majority of women that he had as patients, they were really happy with how their boobs looked post-pregnancy, post-breastfeeding, and they didn't need any revisions. So I'm really happy with the result and how they look. But if I lift them up like this, like just a little bit, it was like, that's where they sat probably pre-pregnancy. Now they're like down, just like a tiny bit. I think the reason that they have dropped like that is loose skin. I have lost the pregnancy weight. During my pregnancy, I gained a significant amount of weight in a really short period of time, and I have loose skin everywhere. When I touch my skin and feel my skin and pick it up, it doesn't have that same bounce back, that same elasticity that I remember it having. And that's just one of the changes that my body has gone through post-pregnancy. So it doesn't mean that I don't feel comfortable or confident not wearing a bra. Like I don't need to wear a bra at all because of how my boobs naturally sit with the implants. But that's just honestly a consideration, that if you are worried about even like a small amount of, falling or changing of positions, then that's a possibility that could happen. The $1 million question is, do I think the surgery was worth it? Would I do it again? Would I recommend it? Would I recommend you having the surgery pre-kids? And in all honesty, if you're spending that money, yes, I do. I 100% think it's worth it. I would not change my decision at all. So the benefits to getting it done now, pre-kids, is that you get to benefit from that potential added confidence and improved self-esteem. And also, the recovery process is so easy when you don't have kids. You don't realize it until you have kids, just how all-consuming it is, and especially when they're younger. Part of my recovery was not picking up anything that weighed more than 5 kilos. So you have that benefit of really being able to focus on your recovery, which I think would speed up your recovery process too. So that's a real benefit too. But on the other hand, some of the potential risks of getting it done now, before kids, is scarring. You don't know how that pregnancy is going to affect you. You don't know how it's going to affect the end result. You might experience issues with breastfeeding. I didn't. I just want to be clear, I didn't. And that is because of how my surgeon, positioned them under the muscle, all of that. I don't think that having a boob job means you can't breastfeed, provided that your surgeon inserts them for you to be able to do that later. I hope that this has been somewhat helpful. I'm not making this decision for you. Only you and your surgeon can make the decision that's right for you. I really hope that you have found this video helpful, hearing my experience with having a boob job before kids. I don't regret it. I'm really happy that I did. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. The support means the world to me. And if you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you again very soon. Bye.